Good morning, everybody. I'm going to bring you up a little bit so that my head's not totally chopped off. And we're going to try this out for Monday mornings, do a little stitching together. Of course, my nose is itching, and my grandmother used to say that meant you're going to kiss a fool or you had company coming. So let's hope it's not company coming and my fool's already left for work. But yeah, we didn't get any more blocks, tiles laid in the bathroom this weekend. Scott was hurting too bad. That's the thing when you're over 60, everything takes a whole lot longer because you have to take it in small chunks, like eating an elephant. What we're going to do this morning is I've pulled out the pattern. I started on this last night, and it's one of the new looks that Dee Dee sent me from the 99-cent sale. And this one cannot be used for Project Dress-A-Girl because it has buttons all the way down the back. But it is adorable. I have started it. It's new look 6473. And I'm doing B and D, which is the shorter top right here, and the long pants, which are here. So yeah, oop, there we go. Hi, Safia. That's okay. That's okay. So last night I did parts 1 through 5, and I've applied the interfacing to the, what do they call this? Bands. But I was going to show you what I've got here so far. I've done the pleats in the front, and I've sewed the backs to the front. And so this is what I've got so far. You can see the pleats are in here in the front, cute pleats. And the band goes on the neckline. So we're going to add those. So the first thing I have to do with the bands before we get them applied to this top section, it'll make more sense when we get there, is we have to, so this was the front band, and all these little lines, or if you wanted to do the ribbon weaving in and out, you have to make all of these buttonholes. Everywhere there's a little dash line, that would have to be a buttonhole. We're not doing that, at least not today. I'm not feeling like making that many buttonholes. And then this is the back band. So what we have to do is put the back band on the front band at the shoulder seams, which is right up at the tops here. So that's the first thing I got to do. This morning, I have put the interfacing on the back. I should probably trim this excess off, but I didn't bring the right kind of scissors in. Hang on. I knew there was something I was going to miss. All right. It fell on the floor. Of course it fell on the floor. I'm just going to trim this even with the fabric piece. Technically, you're supposed to make the interfacing a little narrower than the actual piece, so you don't get all this buildup in the seam allowances. And I got to remember, when we sew this to the top, they want us to use a 3/8 inch seam instead of a 5/8. I don't know what that is in centimeters. that one's there, and then I've got the two to the back here that need just a little bit of trimming. Hi, Ruth. Hi, Vicki. You're up early or you have not been to bed yet. And with the temperature going up, I'm tempted to go get a pixie cut because it's blooming hot and I'm about headed. I told them I wanted a layered bob and she gave me a blunt bob and it's too heavy and too hot. I guess I shouldn't complain about having too much hair. It could be worse. But the other problem is my hair is falling out in the shower. So I am continually plugging the drain, which drives the husband a little on the bunker side. And I don't have a trash can right here. Let me get a trash can real quick. I always forget something. I think I'm good to go when I'm setting up in a new location, and I'm always wrong. I'm not going to put any rickrack or anything on this, even though it would be adorable. It's just, I think the flowers on what I've done so far here are just so pretty. I don't want to break it up. So I'm not going to. So if you think about your neck, I'll tell you exactly what this step says. Apply interfacing to the wrong side of the front and the back band sections. Done. Then we're going to skip for view A, jump over here where it says continue as follows for all views. Stitch your shoulder seam and band sections and then press under 3/8 of an inch on the unnotched edge. So your neck is round, so your neckline needs to be round. So if you look at it like this, you put the shoulders so that it creates a roundness like this. So we're going to put this one here. And these are going to look weird. But you line up. You can see how this has got it like straight away here and then that way. What you want to do is line this up, match the notches, and then where it was flat here, it goes along the flat side of the front. So it's on the outer part of the front. So I'm going to pin that, maybe. I am all discombobulated moving everything, but this is where I had this sewing machine set up. And this I'm going to sew at the 5/8 inch seam. And then this one, I'll do the same on this other one here, matching the notches and the edges up so that it's smooth here and here. I don't really need these pins, but I'll put them in. So it's pinned up like this. Now I'm going to sew them. And I did put a piece of tape on because for some reason, I think this is because it's a white quilter star. It doesn't have the lines for the seam allowances. It has like this grid off to the side. Uh-oh. I'm going to end up with a spider web. And of course, I'm losing connection. Sorry, guys. Oh, wait a minute. Needles up. Put this back on a straightaway. I had it on zigzag. That'll never do. Then we'll go backwards. Then forwards. And the reason I can go backwards is Scott's handy dandy, and he made the part that we can't buy anymore out of some scrap doing that. It's Monday morning, I guess it doesn't want to work this morning. I'm hoping it's still recording, even though I keep dropping internet connection. You guys let me know if I go completely black screen. So I'm going to trim this off with pinking shears just to keep it from fraying. And I'm going to just trim it like that. Okay. And then I might take a minute and just open the seam up and iron it flat, just so I don't end up with a lot of bulk at the where this has to go on the dress. If you get the seam open and kind of finger press it like this so it's flat, then take it to your iron. It does a little better. Now the fiddly bit comes where I have to pin this onto the dress, and I have to remember I have to do this at 3/8 instead of 5/8 when I attach it to the dress around the neckline. And I do have a pressing cloth here, which is just a piece of muslin that I've gotten wet or damp. And I'll just use that on here. Put that down there, and then I'm just gonna set the iron on real quick. Pick it up and move it to the other side. Making sure that seam is flat under there. Okay. So now this here looks like this. All right. So now I'm going to put this right sides together. The instructions say on the outside, pin right side of your band to your neck edge, matching your centers and shoulder seams. Stitch along stitching lines at inner corners of band and along seam line in a 3/8 inch seam. To reinforce the inner corners, stitch over your first stitching. Sorry, it keeps doing that. It keeps going out. So I'm going to layer the seams, which means cut one shorter than the other. Like cut this at one length and then cut the seam on the dress at another length. So now I've got the little dress here. And the fiddly bit is where these have the shoulder seams, where I connected the two, they have to match the shoulder seams on the little dress. This right here in the front needs to match at the corners and the centers, which I don't have marked, but it should all just kind of fit together. So I don't know where to get to let you watch that. So, almost knocked the iron off. I'm going to start back here, and I'm going to match up the notches at the back. I'll put a pin at the notch. And then we'll see if our shoulder seams match up here. And I'll put a pin in there. Okay, and we'll come down, put a pin in at the corner. And then I'm going to go to the other side. But see, right now I have a pin at my notch, pin at the shoulder, pin at the corner of the front here. Now I'm going to do the same on the other side, and it should all line up. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the internet. It's crazy this morning, apparently. It's decided to be cray-cray. So again, this is one of the patterns that Dee Dee had bought me and that we drew on there. I need to go out and water my 3 little tomato plants. That's my whopping big garden this year. I've started some more beds, but that's as far as I've gotten. And now the heat is here, so it's kind of pointless. I should have started in January. So we're going to line this up like so. All right, that doesn't want to line up right. Well, let's get it as smooth as we can and pop a pin in it here. I got to make sure when I'm sewing this on that I don't mess up the pretty pleats in the front here. See, that's not wanting to lay flat, so I got to do a little maneuvering here. I'm just going to fold this and I'm going to disconnect the front. This is the fiddly bits. You got to be willing to do the fiddly bits. I'm just going to fold this in half and put a pin in the center part of it. And this should line up with that center pleat. So I got that pin there. If I take that and match it up with my center pleat, then we'll work with the fiddly bits more. Bear with me. Sometimes you just have to be patient and get it all kind of lined up and use as many pins as you need. I am one that says never sew over your pins. 1, you can get a wicked injury. 2, it can mess your sewing machine up really bad. And 3, you could snap a needle in your sewing machine, which can get exciting, but is never fun to do. That's one way an injury can happen. And I'm just working my way around and getting everything to fit together nice and even. I'm not on Project Runway or what's the other one, the Sewing Bee, so I can take all the time I need. This is so interesting how this is not wanting to line up, worth beans. I had a feeling this was going to happen, but we're going to go with it the best we can and hope it looks okay. I know. Don't put pins in your mouth. I'm going to show you what I've got going on here. Hang on. I don't know if I didn't get the pleats 100% right or not, but the little neckline is not meeting totally even. Here goes a bird into the side of the house. Greg's leaving for work. Everybody's on days now, which is good, except Greg can't sleep at night, so he's going to bed. His light didn't go out till the wee hours of this morning. He's out there playing video games. I'm like, ugh. So I'm going to sew this nice and slow, 3/8 of an inch, which I should mark that on the sewing machine and see where that falls. So to figure out where you need to be, if you put your needle down and then measure from your needle over, you can figure out with what you need to line it up with, or you can put a piece of tape. You're a goofball, Howard. So I'm just going to line my measuring tape up with a whole inch mark and then see where 3/8 falls. So if I put this at 3, it looks like I need to come up and sew right along. There's like these dots in that little chart thing. If I go to the other side of it, I'll be at the right spot. It's hard to describe. Let's see if I can do this without messing it up. How about them apples? 3/8 of an inch seam. And I'm not sure why this comes off the edge, but they'll explain that later, I'm sure. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Hold, please. I got to take it back out now. I got to do that all over again. I knew there was something missing. Hang on. I've got to fold over 3/8 of an inch on the outer unnotched edge. And the reason you do that is it gives you a finish and it will take care of the part that's hanging off here. Durr. I knew there was something I was forgetting. All right, so we're going to take this and I'm just going to fold this over the 3/8 of an inch and press it good. And then all the way around here, I'm going to press over 3/8 of an inch and just press it. So that's what I need to do. Yep. Press under 3/8 of an inch on your unnotched edges. So what they mean is where there's notches, you're not going to fold over inside the neckline. You're going to fold everywhere that's unnotched all the way around. So that's me being silly. I don't know if I can do this sitting down or not, but we'll see. And I should probably use a pressing cloth. And I'm going to eyeball 3/8 of an inch, which is just 1/8 of an inch bigger than 1/4 and 1/8 of an inch smaller than 1/2. And I just eyeball it. Don't work your fabric. It's really more of a press. Go straight down, come straight up. If you start shoving your iron around, all you're doing is distorting the bias. And then you have stretched out necklines or just really wonky. And if you do it when you're quilting, and Ruth will probably tell you this, you'll end up with a quilt top that's like an ocean with lots of waves in it. And then when you take it to your long arm quilting friend, they go, what on earth have you done? Ooh, this has got plenty of steam. Yeah. Ruth is a quilter. I will be glad when I get in the straightaway here. This little Black & Decker iron, and I know Made by Pam had one too, and it gets really hot. Don't leave it laying on a fabric or it'll burn a hole straight through it. I'm going to do my other curved edge and then do the last bit across the bottom. I'll look at chat again here in just a minute. Now, it didn't say anything about stitching this down. Now, another way you can do this and not do this pressing is you could serge this edge if you wanted to. My serger is set up with ballpoint needles right now for knits sewing. So I'm doing this, the old finishes with pinking and that kind of thing. If you don't have a serger, you can still sew. The industry would like you to think you needed all of the machines, but you don't. Our great grandmothers didn't have all the machines and they still sewed things. All right, so now I gotta get this lower edge here. Sorry, I gotta pay attention to what I'm doing because this is really hot. Really hot. I'm going to flip it the other way. Make sure all of my folds are underneath. And then iron it from the top. I can't stress enough when you're doing garment sewing, the pressing is really important. It's important in quilting too, but in dressmaking, it's really important that you don't pass the whole ironing. Do the ironing. Your fit will be so much better and your finish will be so much better. You'll look like a professional. All right, so I have folded over the 3/8 of an inch all the way around. Now I'll pin it back there. So now when I line these up, the edges should match. See, now the edge of the band meets the edge of this. I don't have some sticking off. And the reason I had that sticking off is because I forgot a step. So now let's do this pinning all over again. Put a pin in at this notch. And then I'll put a pin at the other notch on the other side to get me started. Match up the shoulders. Now on the actual dress, I did not open my seams flat. I just pointing everything toward the back of the dress. I zigzagged on the seams and pinked them and then pressed them toward the back. Yeah, I want to do an herb garden right there by the porch. Hadn't got back out there to do that. It's supposed to be like another next couple days are all going to be right around 100, but feels like, you know, hell. And then we're supposed to get rain on somewhere around Thursday, Friday. They said we were going to get some yesterday, but we never saw any. It was just awful. Awful, awful, awful. And I put my pins so the heads are to the outer edge. So before I get to them, I can pull to the right and pull them out of my way. I just want to keep this nice and smooth along the neckline. I keep telling myself in my head, 3/8 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch. Because that's the seam allowance. If I take too big of a seam allowance, it will make it too big. Since this is a tiny little garment, we don't want to go too big.